And great horror is not about sadism. It's not about throwing entrails at the camera. It's about taking some characters that we can fall in love with and then putting them through the thresher. And
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. So on the channel, someone asked me to review the Dollhouse Family. And I said, I have an expert on horror comics who's reading all the Hill House comics right now. Let's just cover it with Lance. What's going on, buddy?
Not much. How you doing, Wes? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing pretty good. I'm glad you can make it. I know it was short notice, but someone asked for this kind of content, and I wanted to deliver. And nobody better than yourself to talk about some horror comics here on this wonderful Christmas season.
So yeah, exactly. So far, Dollhouse Family has been it's been the star of the Hill House imprint. It's on issue 2, and it's absolutely amazing. Like, you think it's about one thing, and you think it's going to follow a structure, because comics they always open up like, oh, this is a little dollhouse, and you can go inside it and shrink yourself, and then those people, you can live there. But then you start reading into the second issue, and it gets all into this mythology that goes back like 200 years, and it's like, no, there's a lot more going on here than just some type of Beetlejuice type of fantasy. This isn't just a paint by numbers type of thing. And Mike Carey, how many times has this guy come out with great work? I mean, I don't think
The Highest House from IDW is one of the best fantasy comics I've ever read.
Yep, the Highest House, we mentioned on the stream before, just being a masterpiece. I hope for a sequel at some point. And Peter Gross does great work on art, as always. So you can't miss with that. So far, I think both issues have been 5 out of 5.
So yeah, I read the first one. It seemed like the girls is in a dysfunctional home with her parents, but when she gets shrunk down and goes into the dollhouse, which she's inherited, which seems that maybe have a curse with it. It's kind of in the air, at least as far as the first issue. It seems like maybe the Dollhouse family is a little bit like dysfunctional as well. Is that kind of what the case is?
What the story is that the at least from what I can read into it, is that the dollhouse itself is kind of like an evil entity that wants your like soul or something. So if you get shrunk down and you ask it for you get one wish, and you get that one wish, then you have to stay there like forever. And so the other people in there have all had one wish, and since the entity seems malicious on the surface, I think that everybody's wish has been like a dark wish, like a bad thing. Like, so that's why I think the whole family is a little off.
Because that makes more sense, because they are off, but they're not really a family. They've been assimilated over time as people entered the dollhouse and succumbed to their own personal desires and made the wish.
Yep. So yeah, and so they've become a family because they want to live in this fantasy world rather than the real world, or they have to. They also kind of have to.
It is Dollhouse. Is that an ongoing? I think it's actually a miniseries, correct?
Yep. 6-issue miniseries.
Okay, so if people jump on it right now, they only have 4 more months of titles to go.
Yep. Every Hill House title so far has been a miniseries of 6 issues, except for Basketful of Heads was extended to 7.
Okay, since you brought up Basketful of Heads, that's the other Hill House comic that's actually been released so far. I think the buzz on that one hasn't been quite as strong as the Dollhouse family. What are you thinking about Basketful of Heads?
The first issue was really good, and it had a 80s slasher vibe where there was a lot of tropes. It read like it was like watching an old Friday the 13th movie for most of it. And I thought it was just kind of endearing that in that fashion, because it had just been a while since I'd seen those kind of tropes of like the sheriff who's dating the young girl who's sassy, and then the killer that's knocking off her friends, and it it was like a fun throwback to slasher films. And then the second issue really threw me. It had some kind of outrageous art and sequences, and it was kind of, the second issue wasn't very good, I'll be honest. And like, it kind of unveils what the story is, that this girl uses this, if she cuts someone's head off with her magic axe, then their head is still alive. So she ends up like walking around with these heads that talk to her. And I was not really a fan of the direction the story went in at the point. Like, I'm going to give it one more issue, and if it doesn't pick up and kind of get things back on track, I'm probably going to have to let go of the series.
So who's the writer on Basketful of Heads? Is it someone that you've enjoyed in the past?
This one's Joe Hill. So
okay, that one is Hill himself. Of course, he's mostly known for Lock and Key, but he's also a horror novelist as well, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep, he's he did that movie Horns with Daniel Radcliffe. He wrote the book that was based on that. So he's had some bestsellers, I think maybe one or two. It's kind of interesting how he's curated these titles. I don't.
And if people don't know, like, Joe Hill's the son of a very famous author, correct?
Oh yeah, Stephen King is his dad.
King, yeah.
So he, I don't know where they. He didn't. He wanted to make his own way, so he didn't use the King name. But I don't know where the Hill name comes from either. Exactly.
The Emilio Estevez route.
Yeah, it must be his mom's name or something. She's also a writer. Now they got another brother that's a writer. So apparently you cannot live in the King household without publishing novels. But yeah, the Lock and Key was a terrific series, and I guess they're bringing that back at some point too. So that's what he's most famous for. And there's a Amazon series, or no, Netflix series of Lock and Key coming out now in the next 6 months, I believe. I saw some ads for it already. So
yeah, so Joe Hill is curating the line. He's kind of getting the talent and stuff together. But Basketful of Heads and the Dollhouse Family aren't the end of it. I think he even has another title himself called The Plunge, and then there's another one called Daphne Burn. There's some other ones. Is there one Hill House comic series that you're looking forward to in the future that really looks like it's going to be dynamite?
If I had to, I don't know why, I'm really excited for, and this one came out of nowhere, but this Daphne Byrne just looks so interesting. It's and the art kind of looks like Kelly Jones, and it's written by someone named Laura Marks, who I don't know who she is. But it's like a gothic horror story, and the art on the ad that you can see, he's really channeling his inner Bernie Wrightson. This is looks like Bernie Wrightson Frankenstein type of stuff. It's very nice, fine pencil work without the inks getting everywhere, like covering everything. It looks like one of those big haunted house type of stories. Like, it's probably going to be a big mansion, kind of like a Crimson Peak type.
But the setting is like a long time ago, right?
Yep, yeah, 1890s. It's
okay, yeah. So I remember seeing the clothes on the cover, and I was like, "So are they frontiersmen or something?"
I don't know. Yeah, it just looks interesting to me. And Kelly Jones has done, I think, the best work of his career in the last 5 years. I actually didn't really like his Batman stuff back in the 90s that much. I thought it looked pretty stupid. But as he got older and took his time, he started creating like some more kind of, the imagery, I think, got better, and he stopped messing around with body proportions so much and started actually getting a little bit more into storytelling with his images. And
it's a real good gothic vibe lately, though.
Yeah, exactly. Like his Batman Kings of Fear, I thought it looked terrific.
Yeah, that was the best part of the whole comic. But
yeah, that story was okay, but the art was fantastic.
Yeah. So is there one Hill House comic that you would kind of warn people? Maybe that one might not be the one for you. The one that doesn't really have the buzz, at least for you, in the future?
Well, it pains me to say this, Wes, because they all come with 2-page backups of this story called Sea Dogs. And so I kind of want to get all the titles, but there's one that sticks out as something that I know I will not enjoy. And I've even read a 5-page preview that's attached to one of these comics. It's called the Lolo Woods. And they are just like so into, like, it kind of just starts off as vulgar. Like in the preview, the first word used is the F word, and then literally, and then after that, it's just kind of like these two young girls that are lesbians are throwing up in this movie theater, and I don't know how old they are, so like I don't really know what kind of like line that makes too, because it's kind of like, well, and then there's like the evil bigoted guy who's like, did you enjoy the movie? And he's got this creepy grin, and then they leave the theater and they go into the woods, and there's some type of woman/deer lady running around in the woods. And this is all in 5 pages. I just don't understand why this is just not something that appeals to me. I would say avoid the Lolo Woods. This one sticks out like a sore thumb. Like the other series seem to be a little bit more normal as far as horror, and then you get this type of story. It seems pretty strange. So
it's been like a really good time to be a horror reader right now. I remember earlier in the year, The Immortal Hulk came out, and it's like one of the better horror comics we've seen in a long time. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere comes Vault Comics. It's one of my favorite publishers right now. Maybe my second or third favorite, right behind Alterna. And they have just a terrific lineup of horror comics. You want to tell anybody about those comics? My favorite, of course, was These Savage Shores. And Ram V, I'm really excited. He's going to be on Justice League Dark moving forward. But, Resonant seems to be pretty good. I know there was another one that you were even more impressed with.
Oh, yeah. So far, I've loved... and by the way, I'd just like to mention... Vault is on fire. Like I would say over half their titles are things I consider that I have to have. Like, so yeah, These Savage Shores, I ended up getting caught up on that. It's fantastic. Black Skies Above, a very slow Lovecraft horror type story in the woods, where she kind of, I don't have issue 2. Issue 2 comes out, I think, this Wednesday. But the character kind of opens up this Pandora's box, and then all the crazy Lovecraft creatures are kind of going to come out into the world. And Fearscape was amazing. Everybody loved Fearscape. It was probably one of the highest reviewed comics that I've seen in the last year on this aggregate site that I've gone to, Comic Book Roundup. I'm trying to think. Am I missing anything, or is that
plot, right?
What's that?
The plot.
Oh, the plot. Yeah, that's right. That's
the one you're always talking about.
Yeah, no, I was trying to. Yeah, no, the plot is amazing. The art is so good, and the characters. It's like how many times you see these horror comics where the family is not written well. They're not written like a cohesive family. The plot has all the dynamics of a family going back and forth, and everybody, like, all the dynamics are just like these two, you can tell, don't get along as well as the other two. Those two are closer. Those two get in fights because they get hot tempered, and it just goes back and forth, and then there's this kind of entity thing going on where it's kind of like if I had to describe the plot, I would say it's like a family curse that has kind of like come back again, and it's kind of like it would be similar to like a Swamp Thing type of monster that's a curse on this family and has returned, and now they have to deal with it again. And this generation of the family has not dealt with it before, but I think past generations have, and what it seems to do is it grabs these people and pulls them into like either a swamp or just the ground, and will just like kills them and absorbs them into its own, like it's out there. It's great though.
Yeah,
So
that's one of my favorite ones that I'm reading right now, and the dialogue is just what gets me, man. The characters, especially the main character, he's severely flawed. You know, he's in over his head. He's got like his niece and nephew with him, and he's taking them back to the family house, and you can tell he's not ready to be a dad. He's kind of protective of his family name in the town, and he's really relatable, even though he's severely flawed.
Oh yeah, he reminds me of almost of a criminal character, kind of like a heavily flawed guy trying to do the right thing. But and the sheriff's interesting too, because he wants him to leave because the main character hasn't really done anything bad per se, but their family has this like shadow that is cast over this small town, and it just seems like there's always a tragedy with them. So he's just like, why don't you people just get the hell out of here? And so you understand where he's coming from too, because he's like, something bad's gonna happen. It always does with you people. So yeah, that's it.
You know, I think that'll pretty much wrap it up today. So, you know, your big recommendation is the Dollhouse Family. The plot, you know, was there another one that you would say is a must read right now?
Black Skies Above. That one's just getting heated up from Vault. That one is just it's one of those comics where it's like, get yourself to turn off all the background noise, and it's going to take you 40 minutes to read, but it's a great comic. Get ready for like a slow creepy horror experience if you read Black Skies Above. And Dollhouse Family is just a great, that's just for anybody who enjoys kind of like dark fairy tales. It's almost like, it seems similar to like almost like a Brothers Grimm type of thing. So I could see that being a Brothers Grimm tale. So those are, and then the plot is more of a standard EC Comics type of vibe going there. So yeah, if you like horror comics, you can't go wrong with those titles.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, filling in the viewers on some of the great horror comics that are out there, specifically with Hill House and Vault Comics. And I'll talk to you later, buddy.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.